Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a sharp, fast-paced cheat code guide to building wealth in your 20s. Look, if you've ever felt like the financial system is this giant game with rules nobody bothered to teach you, you're in the exact right place. We're going to break down the absolute fundamentals of money, debt, and wealth creation. We'll decode the system, strip away all that annoying financial jargon, and hand you the exact playbook you need to stop trading your time for pennies and start building actual lasting wealth.
Okay, let's jump right in by shattering a massive illusion. When you hand a bank teller $1,000 and watch your digital balance go up, you probably picture that cash sitting in some giant, impenetrable vault guarded by a dragon, right? Well, actually, your money is already gone. The bank is really just a matchmaker. They literally took $900 of your cash and instantly handed it to someone else who wanted a loan to buy a jet ski.
The actual mechanism working behind the scenes here is called fractional reserve banking. The entire system relies on the bet that they only need to keep a tiny fraction of everyone's money on hand, hoping we won't all show up at the exact same time asking for our cash. You see, you are the supply of money, and the borrower buying that jet ski is the demand. The bank is just leveraging your cash. They charge the borrower a super high interest rate and then pay you just a tiny fraction of it, basically just for the privilege of holding your money.
So if you remember absolutely nothing else from this concept, your one-sentence takeaway is this. Your bank is a middleman using your money to make themselves richer. They aren't doing you some huge favor by holding your cash. You're fueling their whole business model. Getting this is step one to realizing why just leaving your cash sitting in a checking account is never going to make you wealthy.
Let's move on to our next enemy and see how this ties right into understanding inflation. Now, inflation isn't some crazy overnight firework display that destroys your wealth in an instant. It's more of a quiet, slow erosion. It's kind of like opening a bag of chips and realizing it's half empty, but you somehow paid 30% more for it. Your $5 bill is technically still a $5 bill, sure, but year after year, it slowly buys you fewer instant noodles, less gas, and just holds less absolute value.
To really picture this, imagine a scenario where suddenly everybody has extra cash. 2,000 people walk into a store and they all want to buy a new $500 TV, but the manufacturer only made 1,000 of those TVs. What do you think happens? The business owner sees this massive demand and just hikes the price right up to $800. That is the core of inflation. Too much cash chasing too few goods, which drives the price of absolutely everything up. To sum this one up, your one-sentence takeaway is, inflation is the slow erosion of your purchasing power over time. It's the silent thief in the night that mathematically guarantees if you just hide your money under a mattress, you're going to grow poor every single year.
To survive this silent thief, we really have to aggressively contrast the two main things you can do with your cash: saving versus investing. Saving your money is strictly about safety. When you put cash in an insured bank account, the government guarantees it won't just vanish into thin air, but it will lose to inflation. Investing your money, on the flip side, means taking a risk in the market, but it is absolutely required for growth. You literally cannot save your way to wealth.
So the core rule here, your one-sentence takeaway is, save for safety, but you must invest for growth. Keep enough cash in the bank to fix a blown tire or pay your rent if you lose your job, but every single dollar beyond that safety net, send it out into the world to grow.
But wait, before we get too deep into growing our wealth, we have to talk about the absolute trap of bad debt. Interest is basically money's way of charging rent. When you borrow, you're paying rent on someone else's cash. And look, if you miss a payment on a credit card charging 20% interest, that interest starts earning its own interest. Very quickly, that $12 late-night burrito you put on your card turns into a $50 financial regret. This is exactly why we have to draw a hard line between liabilities and assets. A liability is that debt-fueled burrito regret. It's a shiny new car on a high-interest loan. It's anything that consistently drains your account and actively takes cash straight out of your pocket. An asset, however, is something that actually pays you. It's an investment that puts money back into your pocket, even while you sleep.
Definitely write this one-sentence takeaway down. Liabilities are financial fires, but assets pay you. If you're paying high interest right now, you need to kill it fast. It is a slow burn that will completely torch your financial future before it even has a chance to begin.
All right, on the flip side of bad debt is our ultimate cheat code: compound interest. When you're earning interest instead of paying it, you are literally building an army. Let's imagine an average 7% annual growth rate. every dollar you invest becomes a tiny clone. And the absolute best part? Next year, those clones go out and recruit more clones. And then those clones recruit clones. Your money is duplicating itself automatically.
Let's look at how this actually plays out in the real world. Say you use a super simple strategy, like investing just $500 a month into a standard index fund. Those clones duplicate so rapidly over the decades that you don't even need a massive salary, and you definitely don't need to win the lottery. You just let the math do the heavy lifting. And so one day, you wake up old, rich, and maybe just a little bit smug about it.
The ultimate one-sentence takeaway for this concept: compound interest is an army of money clones working for you around the clock. It is hands down the greatest force for wealth building, turning small, boring, consistent gains into massive, life-changing wins.
Okay, let's zoom out to the macro strategy for a second and look at the harsh reality between income and true wealth. See, most people have an income, which means they are simply trading their limited time for dollars. 1 hour of work equals 1 paycheck. The math is simple, but honestly, it's a trap. Why? Because you only get 24 hours in a day. You can only work so hard before you completely max out.
True wealth happens when you finally stop trading your time and instead use the system to multiply your money for you. You do this by acquiring assets, what we call wealth vehicles. You buy tiny ownership slices of profitable companies through stocks. You loan money to the government through bonds. You buy collections of these in funds. Or you buy real estate that someone else literally pays to live in. Your money does all the hard work so you don't have to. If we boil all of this down, your one-sentence takeaway is this: income is trading time, but wealth is the system multiplying your money. The wealthiest people in the world haven't magically figured out how to work 10,000 hours a day. They've just figured out how to separate their time from their earnings.
Look, I get it. The financial game often feels totally rigged. It's full of these shadowy credit score algorithms judging you on completely arbitrary rules. And it operates on perceived value, like how a handbag can cost 100 times more just because of the logo slapped on it. But here's the secret. Once you learn these rules, you can rig the game right back in your favor. You do this by fiercely protecting your credit score so you get cheap leverage, understanding how to genuinely create value for others, and above all, leveraging your time.
So your final one-sentence takeaway is: understand the rules of the game and let time do the heavy lifting. You really don't need some complex, stressful Wolf of Wall Street strategy to become wealthy. The ordinary person who invests consistently over decades will always beat the frantic trader looking for a quick payout.
To close this explainer out, knowing the theory is completely useless without execution. So here is your highly specific action plan. Open a high-yield savings account this week so you actually earn a real interest rate on your cash and move $50 into it. Just start building your army of clones today. The concepts we've covered are your literal cheat codes. The only question now is, are you going to let the financial system keep using you, or will you take control today and force the system to finally start working for you?